Yo people, Makkuro here, and today I have a video in which I will discuss the performance parts in Need for Speed World. But before I'll do that, a short disclaimer. If you expect a video showing clear differences in performance between different part setups, you can stop watching now. I will only share my knowledge that comes from playing this game for over 4 years and all of my findings done in that time. If I were to put all the things I recorded and based my theories on into a single video, it would be few hours long and contain different stages of my whole gaming experience life in this game, which would also include different resolutions and so on. So yeah, it would be kind of a shitty thing to look at and would bore you in a matter of seconds. Yeah, and you wouldn't understand it a lot. Also, if you happen to be a strong believer of GGG RRR setup, then, or if you like to stick to your misconceptions strongly and you don't want to think anything works differently than those misconceptions prove, or rather not prove to work, then I would advise to stop watching this as well, because it may impact your mental stableness a bit. Because you wouldn't just, the fact that you wouldn't just understand it all, because, well, you're a bit close-minded if you think like that. So yeah. But to everyone else, I bid you welcome, and let's start with the misconceptions. Yes, there are many misconceptions that surround the whole performance parts system. And that means the biggest one, that parts work differently on every single car. Some of you may say, of course that's bullshit, parts work the same, but then, without even realizing, you ask, what is the best setup for Nismo? What is the setup for this car? What is the setup for a Gera, for a Zonda, for a Tractor, for Cinquecento, for the Beatles, the XKR, whatever cars you may be using and want to use, and so on and so forth. When you ask that question and you normally say the parts work differently, in that precise moment you are being a hypocrite, because asking that question is you're automatically stating, yes, I believe that parts work differently on each car. But that single statement, what is the best setup for XXX car? That statement automatically makes you a believer of the parts work differently on each car setup. That is one big bullshit, because they work exactly the same on every single car. There is not a single reason why anyone would have to assume that parts work differently on those cars. The whole parts system was done in about a month of time, and it was done by a quite lazy team and unproductive team as Black Box at that point. And like I said, the first mentions of them working on the first teasers of the performance parts whole thingy was with a small screenshot, and after a month after that they said that they released a parts system. So if you would assume that parts really work differently on every single car, you would have to assume they in a stretch of a month, they made such a sophisticated parts system that would work differently on every single car in a time of 1 month. Even Gran Turismo doesn't have such a system, and each part is developed for a few years, so they would kind of make such thing if they could, but they obviously didn't. So you think a team, like I said, as lazy and unproductive as Black Box would be able to do that in about a month, and then make it work afterwards for every single car they added, and then for the pro parts they added, and again for every single car when they added pro parts, and for the ultra parts as well? You really think like that? If yes, good luck to you in the future. Now, if we can move on, or rather, I'll show it differently. I'll show a few cars, and they will work exactly the same. I assure you. This is Kingston, nice setup. And we have the CCX, same story. Perfectly balanced. Now, not this, but CCXR, same story. They all behave to those parts the same. But those are all Koenigseggs, some may say. Of course they are all Koenigseggs. Why not? But then we have an ISMO, which is all-wheel drive, and has the same setup. Then you have a Stirling Moss, which has the same setup. Then we have an LMS Ultra, which has the same setup, and they all work differently. Every single person that tried this setup, they all work the same, meaning that proved parts work the same on every single car. Done. That is a misconception. A lot of people do, a lot of you do, maybe don't even realize you do, but you do. So stop. Parts work the same. Parts work the same on every single car in the game. Done. Thank you. Move on. Now the second misconception is that street and race parts do the same thing as Pro and Ultra, meaning there is no difference in handling as to what those parts do. They always do the same thing. That is wrong. Yes, they do affect performance in the same way, but the Pro and Ultra parts, of course, do have a stronger impact, meaning they improve their top speed and acceleration more than their street and race counterparts. But while street and race parts do change the handling, because all parts change the handling, that I'll be talking about that later on, but street and race parts are pretty much the same, just the race parts have slightly bigger boost to top speed and barely noticeable boost to acceleration. But Pro and Ultra parts are different than street and race. Pro and Ultra are pretty much the same, like the street race. The Ultra just give bigger top speed and slightly bigger boost to acceleration. But Pro and Ultra affect the handling of the car differently than street and race. In most cases, they just swap the properties. So some parts that were good in street race have handling properties of the different parts from the street race while they are in Pro. Simple example would be Blue Turbo. Street race, great, improves handling, improves grip, improves stability. On Pro Ultra, you put that on your car, you're gonna have the most unstable car ever. Unless you counter it, but about that later on. But that's another misconception. Street and race parts are not the same as Pro and Ultra. Remember, they are not the same. You have street and race and Pro and Ultra. That's why you need at least two different setups. Best setups for cars. One for street and race, one for Pro and Ultra. Two setups. We start from at least two setups now. Now, the next misconception is that higher overall equals better performance. While that is somewhat true, it's not about the overall that you see. That overall stats, as I'll show here, this thingy here, the 834 overall S-Class, that is completely unnecessary. That is just something that tells you in which class your car is at this precise, with those precise parts. Nothing more. Do not take it as the ultimate decider of the car's performance. That's why everyone that go for the GGGR setup, highest overall possible, you're just idiots. You have the biggest possible overall, which is not good really, especially if you're going for, I don't know, B class, the 499, 599 and so on, and 749 specs. Then you don't want the as high as possible overall, you want that as high as possible performance, but keeping to that 749, 599, 499 overall limit. Therefore, green engine is shit. Just say. You need to have a setup that will provide you with an epic performance, and will try to keep that overall as low as possible at the same time. So you can boost the performance more while keeping your overall still quite low. Therefore, someone with overall that it's 10 points higher will have performance about the same as you do, and someone with the same overall as you do will have much worse performance. That's the thing. So remember, higher overall doesn't mean better performance. Done. Nor does the overall means higher top speed. No. I'll go to that in a minute. Now, since we're done with the misconceptions, and I believe you all have been enlightened, of course, do keep in mind those are my fears, my discoveries, my findings from the game, and how I found those things. You may still believe in your bullshit. That's your opinion, that's your decision, you're free to do so, but yeah. If you want really to use, but remember, if you will be using my setups, and you will be believing in your misconceptions, then you will be, I repeat, you will be a hypocrite. Just so you know. Now, the explanations of how the parts, well, I wanted to say actually work, but let's say they work when you put my theory into play. How they work according to me. Well, let's put it that way. So, first thing is, all parts affect handling. They all do that in a different way, in a different amount, and so on. Meaning, suspension may not actually be the part that affects the handling the most. In fact, the part that affects the handling the most is, surprise surprise, engine. Hey! Who would have thought? Yes, engines, my lovely viewers, have quite often the biggest effect on the handling. Let's take short example from the top of my head, the Green Pro or Ultra engine. Put it on your car, you can forget about taking corners. You will destroy your handling completely. The car will have insane amount of understeer, it will have no grip, it just won't turn at all. It's literally turning by putting a green engine, you can turn a go-kart into a boat. That's pretty much what Green Pro Ultra engine does. So yeah, that's how strong the effect engine has on the handling. The next biggest handling impact has, well, kind of another thing, is the turbo. Yes. Next would be tires. Finally some reason coming into play. Then would be suspension, gearbox, and brakes less. Suspension and gearbox pretty much have the same impact, though it depends on the different parts. That has to be said. But all parts affect handling. That's just how it is. And like I said, those changes depend on the level of the performance, color and level, meaning street race or pro ultra, blue, green, yellow, red parts. Those things matter. Now, as I mentioned before, there's the fake overall that we have and the hidden overall that we have. To explain this point a bit more, I'll take my Nismo. which is pretty much maxed out. But you see, it's 748, but Nismo can reach 7, even S-Class, it can reach 750 overall. Let me explain. I'm using a Blue Ultra engine. Ultra Tune 917. The rest is Ultra Tuned as well, as you can see. My only 17 Ultra Tuned brakes I ever got in this game. But it's about this engine. If you're gonna choose this engine, go to the performance shop quickly here. And you're gonna scroll down to the engine. Yes, I do have a lot of green engines, I know. And we put this. Suddenly, we have an increase in 5 points to the top speed and 1 point to handling. But the acceleration will decrease by 1 point. Keep that in mind. Now, a lot of people would say, that's better, higher overall, better. No. You don't, in fact, you don't even get an increase to top speed. The top speed of that Nismo, this 750 overall, is 355 kilometers per hour, with ability to go to 356 kilometers per hour when going downhill. Now the top speed of this setup of a Nismo 748 is 355 kilometers per hour, with the ability to go to 356 kilometers per hour when going downhill. So what's the point again of going higher? You get to an S-Class, but in fact you sacrifice acceleration, and the increase to handling is fake. That you can be certain. Or rather, the increase to top speed is pure fake. That's pure fake. Handling, well, if it weren't for the fact that the green engine just ruins the handling may in fact be improved, because the higher handling stat, the better the car handles, or it can handle the corners. Doesn't matter that it can handle. It's not the same as being able to handle better. But point is, you have this whole setup 748. This is max Nismo. By putting this engine, you're only increasing this fake overall. You're putting your Nismo only in S-Class. That's what you're doing. You're not improving your performance. You are decreasing your performance, in fact. You are only increasing a fake overall. You can say you are increasing your penis. You're increasing your penis. You know, oh, I have a bigger one. I have a 750 overall Nismo. Oh, I got a gigantic dick. And so on. No, that's what you're actually doing. But no, you actually have a worse car. I'll tell you this. If you see a 750 Nismo, that's a ruined Nismo. If you see a 749 Nismo, very high probability that's a ruined Nismo. Just so you know. Now, of course, you may say, but that doesn't mean that the overall that we see is fake, or there is some hidden overall or something. Okay, I'll go at a different way. I'll choose my Zonda, just because this finding was done on a Zonda F, and I'll put it this way. I've tried to tune my friend's Zonda F, and I told him, since he wasn't he wasn't very pleased with the handling as fully. He liked it, but it wasn't fully. And I was trying to find a new setup, so I've asked him what parts he have, and I told him, okay, change those street parts. He changed few street parts. The stats on his Zonda were exactly the same. Every single stat was the same. Top speed, acceleration, handling. Stats were the same. When he tested the car with that new setup, he found out that his top speed raised by 1 km per hour, and his high speed acceleration improved. Anyone care to explain that? Because I see one simple explanation. There is a hidden overall, which dictates the actual performance and top speed. The top speed is literally bolted to that hidden overall, and that hidden overall somehow improves the performance a bit, but at the same time you have the fake overall, which dictates in what class your car is, nothing more. That's what this fake overall does. Now if we look at my Nismo again, and remember when I put the 79, the Green Pro Ultra Tune, the Green Ultra Tuned engine, it went to 750. But the percentages on the parts were the same. And those percentages are in fact the true overall. I'm not saying they are what determines the performance. No. I'm simply stating, add all those percentages. So you add all those percentages, and that's what the true overall is. You want to put as many percentages as possible into your car, and then take the best overall possible, which automatically means you need to have this, and this part. Some may say the yellow ultra tuned tires maybe as well, but I've checked always, and the red tires are just so much better when Pro Ultra Tune is just insane. There's no reason to use yellow ultra tuned tires because they are just worse, literally. Red ultra tuned tires are the best, that's fine. But like I said, that statement simply means that you need to have this setup. Those 4 parts will always be there. You can only change things with those 2 parts. And that leaves you with quite a small possibilities. For, of course, when we mean about best handling at the best possible performance. We want the best possible performance and maintain a great handling. Now also there is another thing about cars, and that's something that I call critical points, because parts alone, they increase things in a different way, but if you put few parts together, they may increase your car, they may go through something I call critical point. They will increase a certain aspect of your car a bit too much, therefore making the car undrivable. Let's say you'll make the car too responsive. You'll put blue engine, which improves responsiveness massively. Blue, of course, I'm talking now about Pro parts, Pro Ultra parts. For this example, no street race. You're putting Pro Ultra parts. So you'll be putting blue engine, you're putting blue turbo, we'll put yellow suspension, and nothing else. Those 3 parts on their own will make the car so unstable and over responsive that you won't be able to drive it. You can test it on your own, can put those 3 parts, and believe me, every single sidewalk, every single jump, every single obstacle in your way, every single thing that may somehow make you lose grip will be your biggest enemy. Even jumps will be your biggest enemies. Or rather the landing process. On landing you may just randomly slide, hit the wall, spin out, things like that. That's the critical point. You can go the other way. You can go for, like I said, the GGG RRR setup. That goes over a critical point of probably, I wouldn't say grip, but let's say stiffness in some way, and provides your car with just insane amount of understeer. The same goes if you want to make your cars too stiff. You can put a yellow engine which stiffens the car. You can put a blue gearbox, and then there's the yellow turbo, I believe, as well. Does that thing. Then you can put a green suspension, and well, pretty much those parts will make your car so stiff it's insane. I also found out blue engine, blue turbo, and blue gearbox make the car stiff for some reason. I don't know which critical points it crossed, that setup crossed to make that car like that, but yeah, BBB is kind of too stiff for my liking, at least. That's one thing. You need to keep in mind that the whole setups will provide you with very different critical points. So if you'll have a nice setup that has nice handling, nice. Keep in mind you want also performance. So if you're going for the highest performance, you need to mind those critical setups. And if you don't have parts to go for the highest performance, you need to mind those critical points even more. Because if you're gonna put one part a bit wrong, and it goes kind of like shit immediately. Just one part can ruin all otherwise completely perfect setup. That's where my setups come in, but after about those right about now, to be honest. However, I do want to give you a note. Like I said, there will be setups for street and race levels, and there are setups for pro and ultra levels. Now, my setups are mainly tuned to handlings, meaning you get the best possible handling while still getting insanely good performance. When it comes to street and race levels, it's pretty much well, in that point it's best of two worlds. You get the best possible performance anyway, and best possible handling. So when it comes to street race level, you're just using that and don't give a fuck, to be honest. But when it comes to pro and ultra parts, it gets a bit more problematic. But about that later, since we will start first with the street race part, and it's called the, well, this is actually the different versions, the YBGBYY. But there's a different version of it. I believe I have it on my TTRS. It's called the IBB. The IBB, as I like to call it, the IBB. The power of IBB is massive, because yeah, it pretty much does that. It literally improves performance massively. As you can see, I have it on one of my Eclipses. Not this one. This just has something. No, this one has different. Alright. I believe I was trying something with it, but as you can see, this one has the EYBGBYY. I'm kind of still doing with street parts. You can just test all the way. So sometimes just forgetting to put those parts back, but this is the setup I am using for a lot of my cars. As a matter of fact, I'm using it also for my stock YBGBYY. The IBB setup also can be, just that green gearbox in this case improves the top speed stat by 1 point more, so I thought, oh, why not? Why the fuck not? Anyway, as I mentioned, this is for street and race parts. The engine, yellow, is pretty much the best engine in yellow in street race class. Improves grip, improves responsiveness, improves stability. Blue turbo improves grip, improves stability, improves also responsiveness. Green gearbox, this is probably the only part that keeps its handling properties throughout all the levels. Street race, pro, ultra, it only does the same thing. But one thing it does properly is improve the performance. This gives you a massive boost to performance compared to every single other gearbox there is. Now the blue suspension here is easy. Grip and stability. Just those things. Yellow, because it's pretty much it does the same work as Red Pro or Ultra brakes. Improve grip, improve acceleration. Oh yes, brakes improve acceleration quite properly, to be honest. But yeah, that's just it. And then there are yellow tires, which are the kind of a counterpart. Well, they are very similar to their Pro Ultra level, because Pro Ultra red tires are just OP. They are not a single part on street race level, not a single tire on street race level gives the same kind of improvement to performance and grip and handling as the red Pro Ultra tires get. So yeah, they change from shit to epic as the red, but this one pretty much keeps it similar to its Pro and Ultra counterpart, even though those may be slightly better in my opinion. But still, because they are not as good as the red ones, you can pretty much go for improved grip in many parts, therefore resulting in an epic performance. This is epic stuff, literally epic. Now, after that we go to the one you all been waiting for, the one set up to rule them all. Well, in fact, not really, but this one is the setup I recommend to every single pro driver out there. By pro, I mean people that can turn, do not hit walls, know how to use brakes, and can drive at the limit of the car. It's this setup. It's what I call, it's BGG RRR, but it's got a nickname of Beggar. And unlike the typical your typical Facebook beggars, it's the name doesn't require to that, or to the fact that you're begging for those parts to drop. Though that could be kind of correct with the drop rate in this game. But the beggar name is connected to the fact that your mind will be begging you to stop because of how fast you'll be going. The higher the speed, the better the acceleration goes. It's literally like a super and turbocharged car. Turbocharged for smaller RPMs, and then higher RPMs you get a supercharger which just pulls the car so heavily it goes into Koenigsegg mode pretty much. If you'll put this setup on a car and you change a car into a Koenigsegg, and Koenigsegg are known for their, well, high-speed acceleration. CCX, better high-speed acceleration than the Corvette Z06 CLE, the Carbon Limited Edition. CCXR, second best accelerating high-speed car in the game. Agera, best high-speed accelerating car in the game. Also when going up the hill. Koenigsegg have massive power when going up the hill, and the Beggar setup improves that even more. You're accelerating up the hill, you have Beggar, someone doesn't, someone gets left behind. Literally, Beggar setup gives you so much power, it's insane. But that's just one thing. It's pretty much tuned for high speed. For low speed, very low speed where you don't really reach high speed at all, this setup doesn't really shine that much. I want to make it plain, that much, because what this setup does better than any other setup in this game, including the EBB and the EBGB, is the fact it gives you the best possible handling, in my opinion. It gives you grip, it gives you stability. When you're at the limit, this car just flies. It's so friggin' perfect in handling. When you're at the limit, it's insane. Everything feels so natural and so good, it is insane. But when you cross the limit, when you go over that, you try to push it a bit more over what the car can do, it will drift, it will spin out, it will kill you. Therefore, providing that challenge. It's not an easy mode setup. Not at all. It's the fun and challenge. It provides fun and provides challenge. Two best things you want from a car. It doesn't provide understeer, it provides only oversteer when you cross the limit. Otherwise it's grippy, it's stable, it's responsive. Not over responsive, not too grippy, not too stable. So it's stiff. It's not stiff at all. And there's the ship in the background, as you can see, the ghost ship, if you look at the doors. Yes, hello ghost ship. And goodbye ghost ship. Yes, that was that. But going back to the bigger setup, it's literally a setup for those that are, for people that are truly passionate about how their cars handle. If you want the best possible handling on your car, you want this setup. Nothing, not any other stuff. And like I previously mentioned, parts work exactly the same for each car. This works perfectly for every single car. And since parts work the same on Pro Ultra, you can have a Pro counterpart easily. Like with my CCX, I have a Pro suspension. Works just like the Ultra, just gives a bit slightly less to your performance. But there are of course differences. What if you can't put full Ultra, full Pro, and you need to use some Pro and some Street? Simple solution. I'll switch to my Zonda F here. Don't mind the red suspension, this is just because, and the red brakes here, because I just wanted, I was doing drags, so I wanted biggest boost overall, and the actually numbers, and those were the best parts I had, so yeah. But if you want, you can always use this. The yellow engine is actually, yellow parts are pretty much the only parts that keep most of their characteristics throughout the levels. Yellow engine on Street Race Pro Ultra is the same, pretty much. Tires the same, brakes the same. Gearbox isn't the same, suspension isn't the same, and turbo isn't the same. So yeah, it's half of them are. But if you want bigger, you can just, instead of blue, use yellow engine. Instead of red Ultra, you can use blue Street. Instead of red Ultra Pro brakes, you can use the yellow brakes, not those red, of course, yellow. As you get the point, you use pretty much setup from this. If it's a Pro engine, you use blue, of course, when you want the bigger. If it's a Street engine, you use yellow. Pro, green, Street, blue. This is the same. Street, blue, Pro, red. Street, yellow, Pro, red. Street, yellow, Pro, red. That's pretty much how it is. I'm going back again to the CCX R. Now, this setup is that pretty much. But like I said, this setup is the best high-speed accelerating you can get in the game. Is just a byproduct of the fact it provides you the best possible handling. But if you don't want high-speed acceleration and you don't mind a slightly worse handling, but still very good, still very grippy, stable, just not that challenging and not that fun, just a bit worse in every aspect, let's say it. Or rather, it's technically the same, but it lacks that X factor, that zen, that soul in it, that special thing that makes it just oh fucking pee. Then you want to go for the YBGRR. The Ultra, this suspension, I'll explain why it's here in a moment. You want to use the yellow, blue, green, red, red, red. YBGRRR. That's the setup for low, mid, high speed acceleration, for just balance out. If you're, let me put it this way, if you're a newbie or a noob and you don't have really knowledge of brakes, or you for some reason you like hitting the walls all the time and you just don't understand the concept of racing lines at all, this setup will be better for you in the times. because, well, it has better low speed and mid speed acceleration. However, if you are a pro driver which really utilizes the cars to its utmost performance, meaning perfect racing lines, perfect braking spots, everything is just done at the limit, at the edge, perfectly without mistakes, Beggar may prove better for you because, like I said, Beggar improves handling, and with it comes, in my opinion, slightly better cornering speed. It's not noticeable in a just bare result sheet, but in racing you can feel it can go through corners a slightly tad faster, and because of that, and because of the fact it can, oh hello missile ghost ship again, and because of the fact it can go through it, or rather it goes on those high speeds so immensely, it has insane acceleration to this setup, with coupled with that slightly higher cornering speed, and the fact a driver that will be able to keep as high speeds as possible, Beggar may prove better in the YBG, because the Beggar has better high speed acceleration than YBG, and if you'll keep at it, it will be better. So I assume for spammers, meaning those that abuse bugs, in other words cheaters, yes, spammers, you are cheaters, keep that in mind. So for cheaters that do the fast in spam out technique, the Beggar setup may be better because, well, it will prove a better high speed acceleration. But for pure drivers that want a slightly more versatile setup, the YBG will be better. But for those that just care about the best handling and they don't really care about versatile setup, they want the best possible handling, and if they will make a clean, no mistake run, that they want a performance that will boost that at the same time, then the Beggar it's there for you. But if you want more versatility, YBG, RRR. That's pretty much that. Now, a few special remarks. For those, I'll probably switch my driver to the Mr. XKR. And special notes, remarks, call them as you want. I'll mention how some parts work in this game. Now, Blue Pro or Ultra Turbo is pretty much the menace for many people because it provides it makes the car unstable. Now you may say, of course, ask, then why the YBG setup? Because yellow engine kind of cancels that out. It provides more stability and more grip, whereas the Blue Turbo provides instability and, well, pretty much that. It's just less stable. Car is less stable, while yellow engine improves stability of the car and grip. So yeah. Now Blue Pro suspension, I hope I have it here. Yes, Blue Pro suspension, ultra safe, can be the perfect substitution for a red Ultra suspension. Now, of course, it will provide obviously less boost to your stats, and it won't provide as much improvement to grip as the red one does. But just because every single element is pretty done in the same way, it provides almost the same amount of grip, just a bit less, but everything is done the same. This is the suspension to go. It's pretty much the same as it is in street level. So yeah, you don't have a red, go for blue. That's it. Now the menace, after which I hate, the green Ultra or Pro engine. This is by far the worst performance part in the game. Not only does it improve the hand performance with fake numbers, and not really that much, only 4 points, but it gives you a fake increase to overall. It destroys your acceleration, it destroys your handling, and it just makes you look like an idiot. You see someone with a green engine and you can automatically think, okay, leaderboards wannabe. Nothing more. And leaderboards wannabe is, in other words, an idiot. Let's be honest. I know some of you want to be a leaderboard driver, but you don't have skill. Okay, I understand that. In that case, cool. Or if you're leaderboard wannabe who just does everything like some leaderboard driver do because he follows all those, you know, misconceptions, and you're the idiotic leaderboard wannabe. If you're a leaderboard wannabe because you wanna be a leaderboard driver but you don't have enough driving skills to back it up, then okay, great, good. Well, not really good for you. You're a good player. You unfortunately want to go into that deep shit known as leaderboards, but yeah, that's it. Now you have the yellow Pro suspension. That is another yellow Pro Ultra, same. I'll use the Ultra. This is by far the second worst suspension in the game. Think of the red street suspension, which just makes the car unstable, no grip, and so on. This is kind of like its Pro Ultra version. Slightly better, but then again it provides less improvement to performance and so on. So yeah, avoid it as much as you can, unless you want to drift on every single corner and have other parts that will somehow cancel out its instability, but otherwise, yeah, avoid it. Now going back to store and going through red street suspension, red street brakes, and red street tires. Those are the worst street parts in the game. The opposite of their Pro Ultra counterparts. They decrease grip, they make the car completely unstable, they make it so stupendously drifty, it's just insane. You're gonna get mad before you're gonna get anything done. But that's what those things do. Now on the subject of street parts is the blue engine. It's like the counterpart for the green engine on Pro level. You want to destroy your handling? Do you like, well, it has accelerations, no, but do you like having no knowledge about corners? Do you like when your car literally only knows about driving in a straight line? Then this engine is for you. Yes. Now, going back to inventory, I hope I do have that transmission. I hope, yes, I do have one at least. The red gearbox Pro Ultra. It's a good thing if you want to improve your handling, improve grip, improve stability, and don't have a green one. You know, if you have a stuff that is quite unstable, you have, let's say, blue or yellow gearbox, put this improvement to handling. But of course it will decrease your acceleration. The power of the car will go down, most likely, unless those yellow or green or blue ones were, I don't know, like street race, and then you won't really notice any difference in performance, but you will notice a difference in handling. So yeah, keep that in mind. Also back to street level, we have the gearbox, yellow gearbox, street race, of course. This is quite a good counterpart for the green street race gearbox. On Pro Ultra it's not so good, I would avoid. It gives literally, on Pro Ultra it gives no high speed acceleration. It's like you get into 5th gear in a 6-speed gearbox, you get into 5th gear and then it's like, where's my acceleration? Literally all gone, disappeared completely, none. Then the higher the revs on the 5th and then 6th gear, the worse it gets. Do not use a yellow Pro Ultra gearbox. No power, no acceleration at all on high speeds. For low, mid, mainly for low, yeah, can be, but not for anything else. And just avoid it. Green is better, just better. Now the next one we have the green street race turbo. Ah, my favorite, because it's literally the counterpart of the blue Pro Ultra turbo. Meaning, you want an unstable car? You want more drifting? Stupid drifting? Put your car, install a green street race turbo on your car. Guaranteed lack of satisfaction with your handling. Yeah. And then we go back to inventory and we want the blue Pro tires. Ultra the same. It's just drift. It's just drift. Lack of grip in the rear tires, drift all the way. That's pretty much it. Keep in mind, not the drift like those drift hackers trainers. It will be the drift because of which you lose in the corners. The one you don't like. Yeah. When I mean drift in this entire video, I meant all the time this type of drifting. In the corners, the one you don't like, the one because of you lose speed, and yeah, that thing. And then we have the green tires. On all the levels, this is by far the most useless part you can put on your car. It gives no boost to performance, grip, stability. It does nothing. It doesn't change anything. It's the most neutral and useless part of all time. It doesn't do anything, doesn't increase performance, doesn't change handling. Nothing. You want some fake increase to overall? Put those things. You won't even notice you put a part. Yeah. And that's literally all. I hope you did enjoy, did learn. Please keep in mind those are my theories. If you don't like it, you can stick to your theories. Just keep in mind, if I'll find you, if you will be posting in the comments below and I'll find you in the race, in the game, and you will be using my stops, you will be a hypocrite. Just keep that in mind, of course. If you do have some questions, more questions, or have some theories of your own, or have some ideas you want to share, please do comment below. I'll try to respond. Maybe other people will also respond, want to know some things, ask, you know, things like that. But other than that, like I said, the setups to go are once more for street and race parts is the IBB and the IBGB setups, while for the Pro and Ultra parts it's the bigger for the handling and high-speed acceleration, or the YBG RRR for the just versatility, pretty much. Maybe better performance in slow and better performance in low speed, low mid-speed tracks. Pretty much that's it. Easier, most likely easier setup for newbies as well, noobs as well. So yeah, that's all. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button. If you didn't, you may hit that dislike. Probably there will be a lot hateful people that you know, things like that. So if they, I don't believe they got up to this point, but anyway, share it with your friends. Share it to everyone that kind of doesn't know how to, you know, part his cars. Ever had any questions about parts and so on. Please stop posting in comments what parts I use on my cars. Use this. You don't need anything more. It's all the same for every single car, so yeah, please stop doing that. It's kind of annoying after 100th time and so on. But other than that, you know, things like that. Subscribing to me would prove also useful. I will be posting a few interesting tidbits here and there quite soon. Maybe tomorrow, who knows. And other, of course, racing, like the track day series vids. And that's, I believe, really all. So, thank you all for watching. Your commentator here, because unfortunately not a driver since I didn't do any driving. But your commentator here was Makkuro. That's all. See ya.